Well, today I'm here in Fern Farm's Hawke's Bay area, and we're at the Pacific plant, and I'm joined with Sarah Duncan. Now Sarah, you're the technical manager, is that right?
I am, yes.
What does a technical manager do?
I check that we're doing what we say we're doing.
Oh, okay. So what should you be doing?
Everything compliantly, making sure that we're meeting all regulations.
Okay, so Sarah's going to take me through. We're going to look at the plant, and I'm really excited because we've been doing these stories with Fern Farms for 12 months now. So we've met the farmers, we've definitely seen the cooks and all those different recipes, but now we get to go in and see where it's all created. Let's go. Do you need to hold my hand?
Ossification is the measure of maturity. So what we do is we look at the cartilage and we assess how it's turning to bone. So we start at the bottom of the Spinous process and we work our way up, and we're looking for that little point where I'm pointing that shows the bone is starting to form. Marbling is a measure of the intramuscular fat, so that's the fat within the muscle. What we're doing is we're looking to see the ratio of fat to meat. We're not looking at the size of the pieces of fat, we're looking purely at the ratio. A lower score of marbling has less fat to meat ratio than a higher score. The meat colour is a measure of the redness of the meat, and what we'd have to do is we have to get the right tone of colour of the meat. So we have a selection from quite a light red through to quite a deep red. The fat colour is a measure of the fat between the longissimus dorsi muscle and the extra bits of meat around. So it's the intermuscular fat. So what we're doing there, same as the meat colour, we're looking at a fat colour in a tone. We also measure rib fat, we're measuring the fat depth there, and that's along our strip loin cuts. This is the EMA grid, or the eye muscle area grid. Every one of these squares is 1 square centimetre in size. We count the squares to give us an indication of the eye muscle area. The pH meter we insert into the muscle and we get a temperature and a pH reading. That pH is really important to us. It gives an indication of the stress of the muscle and how the carcass has gone through the pH decline. So this wrist scanner is actually quite a relatively new piece of technology to us. What we do is we scan the barcode, which tells the system exactly which carcass we're measuring, and we then input all of the results that we get from the 7 attributes directly into the scanner. It's transmitted to our server and goes through our algorithm, which is a 4-page long computer formula, and that automatically tells us if the carcass qualifies for the eating quality grade or not. So we immediately know, the information gets sent back to the scanner and we tag the carcass to make sure it gets to our prime eating quality system cuts.
Well, we've just gone through the plant, and I've never been in a plant like that before. So for me, it was extraordinary to see that whole process. So your job as technical manager, that would be a very exacting role in terms of the processes that they have to follow. And you know, I could see that there in terms of everyone and the different roles they had. It's very, very exacting. What sort of training do they all have?
No, it was really intense training, and we've had to do calibrations between ourselves and the trainer to make sure before we even got our chiller assessment correlation information, we had to pass before we could be let loose, and then every 8 weeks actually they come back and correlate us. So we actually have to, he asks us questions about the textbook stuff, but the main thing that he's doing is he's checking to make sure that we can grade to the same standard that he can. So,
and has it been a difficult task implementing that, you know, right across the plant?
Our team has been fantastic. The guys have really embraced it. They really know that this is the future for the site. The premium quality product. It's all you have to do is eat the product and know how fantastic it is. That we've taken the whole staff through. Every member of our staff's actually been through and had a demonstration of grading, where all of our day shift staff who are grading prime, they really understand what's going on and have knowledge.
Yeah, because it does seem quite collegiate in there, no matter where they were in the plant, doesn't it? Like, you can't manufacture that.
Absolutely not.
As a company, you've either got that or you don't.
Yeah, no, it's a great team here.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
So tell us a little bit about the eating quality system, because that's relatively new, isn't it?
That's new to New Zealand, yes. We started grading in January last year. It was when we had started the course. It's been a while prior to that in the coming, because we've actually had the on-farm data gathering that's come to back that information up. We did
Now, when you say that on-farm data gathering, what is that? Like, what sort of data?
The farmers, a lot of our farmers are hooked up through what we call Farm IQ,
Yes.
and they are taking the information, for example, grass types, rainfall, all of that sort of information.
pH level, all that sort of stuff?
Well, pH is not something that we can do until we've got a carcass.
Okay.
So, and looking at the genetics as well, all of those sort of factors that contribute, then we feed that information into our system at one end, and then we input the chiller assessment data into our algorithm that we developed after we did 3 intensive trials where we ended up with 97,000 taste tests done around the world.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive. So
Yeah.
no, there's been a lot going on in the background, a long time in the coming, and we've got all the science behind it to say we know exactly what is going to make good quality eating.
Yeah. So that relationship between farmer and Silver Fern Farms here in the plant is actually really key then, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, and we feed the information that we get back to the farmer so that they know how well their mob's gone, and so they've got the feedback so that they can help with their farming practices going forward.
Yeah. And they get that relatively quickly, that data?
I believe it's within the 24 hours of grading.
Because it's interesting, as we've spoken to farmers as we've gone around, you know, that relationship is so key now. You can really see that they need that data to improve their farming practice, and you guys need it. So it really is a relationship very, very tight, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's got to start from the consumer and go back to the farmer, because if the farmer's not creating the right product for us to provide our consumer with, then no one's winning.
Yeah. We know in MiNDFOOD, our readers love those food traceability stories, where we take them back, we show them from the source. And I think just in general, people now are really wanting to know, well, who has grown this, produce? Where has it come from? What's that journey? How important do you think it is for your staff here in the plant that they're across that?
Absolutely vital for us to know that we've got that integration between the farmer and ourselves.
Because it really is about that great piece of meat on the plate at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Now, you took us through the grading system and it was fascinating, with torches and rulers and all sorts of stuff. Just talk me through that in terms of the process. I sort of counted, I think, about 7 different steps. Was that right?
Absolutely. There's 7 different attributes we have, but what you've got to remember, the key to it is the torch and holding the torch in the right position. It has to be between 35 and 50 degrees. We've got to have the right distance away from the meat so that we've got the right lux level. So the big thing that we're trying to do is standardise our process so that the only variable is the meat. So every single carcass we look at, we're looking at it in exactly the same way. So the variable is the marbling, the meat colour or the fat colour.
Now, you were showing us there, the colour range in terms of the meat and the colour range in terms of the fat content. And every carcass would be so different, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't know until you're there and there doing it.
Absolutely, and we actually have a scenario that once we open the carcass up so that we open and can look at that longissimus dorsi muscle, we actually have to leave it 20 minutes so that the oxygen can react with the meat, the oxymyoglobin can come out, and we've got the best colour. So we've only got a 20-minute to 3-hour window when the meat's actually in a situation we can grade it. Yeah.
Now, and so in doing that, do you get a more tender cut, or what else do you get in leaving it that amount of time?
That's purely for the visual, so that we can do that assessment, because
Sure.
that it's a chemical reaction between the oxygen and the meat, so that we've got the best possible scenario to grade it.
Now, tell me about the pH level, because I saw you testing that. Explain that to me.
So we have a pH criteria. It's got to be less than 5.8. So the pH and meat colour, there's a relationship there, and it's just an indicator to tenderness and eating quality. The other really important one's the ossification. It's an indication of carcass maturity. It's not to do with genealogical age, it's to do with how mature and how much stress the carcass has been through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, how can you tell that a piece of meat has been really stressed? Can you by just looking
Well,
at it?
that's in that cartilage on the spinatus processes on the backbone.
Yeah.
So the process of that turning from cartilage to bone is actually an indication of stress. So if you think about it, my 7-year-old daughter jumps out of bed and she runs straight down the hallway. I take a minute to stretch and creak and groan because the ossification is happening in all of us as we mature.
Now, looking into the company, I can see that the chain of care is really important, you know, and I guess for us, we've met the farmers and you know, the stock, and then we also, for us, we're at the other end in terms of the recipes and, you know, for the consumer. But for you, how important is the chain of care here in the plant?
Oh, it's really important. The passion that the whole team here, not just the chiller assessors who are just amazing, dedicated people who get out of their beds to be at work at 3 o'clock in the morning.
They're so clever, aren't they?
Oh, they're
Just
so clever and so dexterous. But from the chiller assessors right the way through the plant, all members of staff here are so passionate about what they're doing, and it's great to be part of a great team like that.
It must be, because the thing is, watching them in all their roles doing what they're doing, you know, I really didn't appreciate what goes into
So skilled.
that. Yeah, they are really skilled.